Okay, we're going to convene the Transportation Committee of Wednesday, March 19th, 2025. The time is 3:08 p.m. We are in room 1100 of the Minnesota Senate building. In accordance with the rules of the Senate, the following members will be participating remotely in today's hearing. Senator Pah from Brooklyn Park. The quorum is present. And with that, we will start with Senate File 1904, Senator Johnson Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members. Now, before I even tell you what this bill is, I want you to know that it's good for everybody, okay? So with an open mind, I will describe, or two open minds, I will describe Senate File 1904. Basically what this does is it changes MnDOT's program around electric vehicle use in the HOV lanes. I can answer questions about what their current program is, but it allows electric vehicle owners of electric vehicles to purchase a decal to put on the back of their car, which allows them to use the HOV lanes at no cost. The reason that this is good for everybody is, according to MnDOT's HOV annual report and other traffic data, the more vehicles we can get in the HOV lanes, the better it is for drivers in the non-HOV lanes. Also, according to their annual report, the HOV lanes have been the use in the HOV lanes has been significantly reduced ever since COVID. We have less drivers and we have less people driving in the HOV lanes. So according to what I can tell from reading their annual report, there is room in the HOV lanes for additional vehicles and allowing for easy pass use by EVs will help traffic flow overall. Currently, I'll just add it since we're still waiting for a quorum. Currently, EV buyer or people who buy a new electric vehicle have the option to purchase credits to use. Well, no, I don't think it operates a program that provides Easy Pass toll credits to drivers that purchase battery electric or plug-in vehicles, and what that does is it allows for $250 in one-time toll credits to Easy Pass customers who purchase a fully electric vehicle and $125 in toll credits for hybrids. So again, what that means is if Senator Dibble, for example, if you had a transponder to use the Easy Pass and you elected at the time that you purchased your electric vehicle to enroll in the program, you would have $250 of credit. That means, though, that after using the HOV lane, $250 worth, then you would have to refill your transponder account just like I do, and I drive a gas-guzzling RAV4. So it would be a little bit of a change. I feel good after reading several papers on this that encouraging EV use in the HOV lanes will be good for everybody. Several states have already done this, and so I encourage your questions. Are we still waiting for a quorum, Senator?
No, a quorum actually was here before you actually started.
Oh, well, I was doing what we college teachers call tap dancing there, just trying to talk for a while.
Well, we're just letting your bill over anyway, so
we're good then.
Quorum anyways. And just let me mention that also Senator Lang is joining us remotely from Olivia. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. I think I will first ask if anyone would like to testify on Senate File 1904 who hasn't had an opportunity to sign up. All right, seeing no one, we'll take it to the committee. Questions, members? Senator Jasinski.
Mr. Chair, thank you. Not really so much a question, just kind of a comment. I'm not in favor of the bill. I think these were made to reduce the number of vehicles when they were originally intended. So you're reducing the vehicles to have two people ride, and obviously if two people are in one vehicle, they're not separated, so that's what it is. And already electric vehicles only pay $75 towards a fee versus the average $219 or $214 they pay in gas tax. And if you want to get more people in lanes, why don't we just open up to everybody, and then you're not picking winners and losers, and we could just open all those lanes up to everybody, and then you would use those vehicle lanes more for everybody. So I would think if you want to be equitable, just open them up to everybody, or do what their intended purpose was to reduce the number of vehicles, and that's actually why having two or more people in the car. So thank you.
Thank you. Senator Johnson Stewart.
So thank you, Mr. Chair and Senator Jasinski. I do have a bill that increases the registration rate for electric vehicles to $200, because I do agree with you that we should be charging all drivers the same for the use of the roads, and so we agree on that. I'm trying to say this in a way that you won't be able to make fun of me. Okay, so traffic data does show, because I didn't want to propose this if it was going to mess up everything. So traffic analysis shows that if in fact we do open the HOV lanes to everybody, then we just have congestion in all of the lanes. The reason that this is different is we are still, and I understand your point about trying to reduce traffic, absolutely. Although one of the other objectives as part of reducing traffic is to reduce greenhouse gases and fuel consumption, et cetera. So I do believe that allowing EVs and not hybrids, EVs into this lane will in fact accomplish some of the same goals. But what the data shows is that by restricting the use of the HOV lanes, which this would do. Right now, about 20% of the vehicles that use the HOV lanes are tolled. So that would be like me, and I'll tell you what, I use that HOV lane every day, driving by myself. But about 20% of us are driving alone and paying for the privilege of using the HOV lane. If we open that up to electric vehicles, we will not see debilitating congestion in those two lanes. We'll see some relief in all of the remaining lanes that don't have the HOV, or that don't have, that aren't HOVs. So I understand what you're saying, and I certainly agree that we want to reduce the number of vehicles on the road. We are still seeing a reduction in the number of trips. Again, I can share the report with you due to COVID, and we are slowly rebounding, but right now I believe we have the capacity in the HOV lanes to accept this additional traffic. The reason that we have the decal provision is so that state troopers, who, by the way, do a great job of enforcing this. I bet I see 2 people a week being cited for driving in the HOV lanes without a transponder. But this would allow the state troopers to see right away who's got a decal, and then they don't have to guess, is that an EV, is that a hybrid? So that's the reason behind the decal. So, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Johnson Stewart. Committee, anything further?
There is somebody from MnDOT's Office of Traffic here. I don't know, Brian, you guys don't want to present? Okay, they're just here to answer questions.
All right. Like,
I think they're being politically correct by being in the back there.
Kind of hiding back there, but they're hiding behind DVS. DVS is right out there out in front. Great. All right, well, thank you. Thank you, Senator Johnson Stewart. Even though I drive an EV, I probably won't opt for this because it's not quite on my route, but I appreciate.
There's a whole bunch, respectfully, Mr. Chair, there's several new routes, including possibly one between the 2 downtowns.
I'll be riding
in the future
the new BRT line that's going to go down Lake Street. All right, so I'm literally a block away from that. So, and also, members, I'll just call your attention to a letter of support in your packets from Fresh Energy that has a perspective on the matter from an environmental perspective. All right, with that, we are going to lay Senate File 1904 on the table for possible inclusion in an omnibus bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. All right. Let's see what our next bill is. All right, so next we will hear from Senator Pa and Senator, I think Senator Dibble, you're presenting because Senator Pa is not here, or is she remote?
She's, thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Pa is remote, but tending to an ill child, so she's multitasking right now. So
All right.
She's
Well, then-
listening with one ear and tending to her children with the other ear.
Okay, so then we will hear.
I think she has both eyes on her children.
Excellent. We'll hear Senate File 2038. Senator Dibble, to your bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, I am happy and pleased to be able to present Senate File 2038, which is an agency bill brought forward by the Met Council. And the general idea and goal and intent of the bill is to allow the Met Council to have the same procurement tools for goods and services from small businesses that state agencies currently have. As we know, the Met Council is, in some senses, a state agency, in some senses, is a separate governmental unit akin to a local governmental unit. So sometimes we have to pass special things. We don't just assume that they're swept into agency authorities and opportunities. In 2023, we passed legislation to enhance direct negotiation with small businesses and increasing percentage preferences for small business contracts, but they did not extend, as I mentioned, to the Met Council's procurement authority. So this would align their authority and policies with the rest of the state of Minnesota enterprise insurance, ensuring consistency, expanding opportunities for small business participation. This has been of great benefit to the state, and so allowing the Met Council to have greater uniformity and access for small businesses will be of benefit to the state, to the Met Council, as well as, of course, to small business enterprise where they're targeted group businesses or veteran-owned businesses, et cetera. So I probably won't go through the details of the bill because I'll make a hash of it. We do have Jody Jacoby here who can do so, as well as Mr. Shetnin, who can also help present the bill and respond to questions.
Thank you, Senator Dibble. Before we move to the testifiers, anybody have any questions in general? Yes, Krista. Oh, I'm sorry. There is a fiscal note in your packets. Ms. Boyd, can you please explain the fiscal note to the committee?
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's actually not much to report on this fiscal note. It's a zero-cost fiscal note, and on page 2, there's just a summary of the bill, and under assumptions, the Met Council has anticipated no budget impact from the language of the bill. So.
All right, great. Any questions on the fiscal note? Senator Pa, online, do you have anything you'd like to add before we open to testifiers?
And thank you so much, Chair Johnson Stewart, and members of the committee for hearing this bill. My little one is sick, so unfortunately I'm home with her instead of there. But I'm grateful for Chair Dibble as a co-author for presenting this bill, and I ask that all of you support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we open to testifiers, especially given that both of our testifiers are both at the table are from Met Council, there is a additional document in the folders for each of you from Mr. Shetnin, and so I would encourage you to take a look at that as our testifiers are moving forward. So with that, I think I'll call on a first testifier, Ms. Jacobs, if you could identify, oh, I'm sorry, Jacoby, sorry. And I even knew that, sorry. If you could identify yourself and then offer your testimony, please.
Madam Chair, committee members, Jody Jacoby, Chief Procurement Officer for the Met Council. And as Senator Dibble, Chair Dibble mentioned, this authority would just align with the procurement tools that the state of Minnesota has. And so we're just asking for statutory change to be in parity.
I have a question, and then Senator Howe, it looks like you have a question. Ms. Jacoby, I have a quick question for you. So this changes, it allows Met Council to go from the eCert program to the TGB program, or what is, it just aligns you with the whole Department of Administration program? Is that what I'm understanding?
Madam Chair, committee members, it does put us in alignment with the targeted business program that the state of Minnesota has with percentages and also with our authority to do direct select.
Oh, great. Thank you, Ms. Jacoby. Senator Dibble.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If I could ask Mr. Jacoby just to step us through the bill so that we can acquaint ourselves with the particulars.
All right, and Senator Howe, I have you on the list.
Do a better job of it.
Okay.
Madam Chair, committee members, the specific sections of the bill that we're asking for changes. Section 1 authorizes the Met Council to direct negotiate construction or maintenance contracts similar to what MnDOT has, up to a value of $250,000. And Section 2A and 2B would allow the Met Council to have preferences, neither on goods and services or construction. We're currently at 6%, and this would again allow us to align with the state of Minnesota up to 12%. And then further, Section 2B and D and C allows setting subcontracting goals for targeted businesses up to $100,000 for direct select, again, similar to the state of Minnesota. And then Section 3 is really a technical change and correction.
Just, Madam Chair, a change in reference that just needed to be updated in federal code.
Great. Thank you, Senator Dibble. Ms. Jacoby, I know we have a few questions. Senator Howe.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I guess where I'm at is if on lines 2.31, we change and to or, and then on line 3.23, we go from or to and. Why? And it seems like I don't see that big of a problem at the one of 2.31. I think it's either or on one of those things, and I think the and worked, but I'm okay with the or. But when we come over to 3.23, I think when you do and there, now it looks to me like it's got to be socially and economically disadvantaged persons. It can't be socially or economically disadvantaged people, and I think you're limiting the scope. Can you tell me if that's the way you read it? I'm concerned about that change.
Senator Dibble or Ms. Jacoby? Mr. Shetland, please introduce yourself.
Great. Madam Chair and members, Judd Shetland, the Government Affairs Director at Met Council. Senator, I appreciate your question. I don't necessarily know that answer. We would be happy to come talk to you, and if there is a substantive issue between that, we will correct it. But I don't know. When we talked about this bill and sent it to the reviser for drafting, this is how this came back. Your point seems fair. I just can't speak to that specific part. But we will talk to you and Senator Pa and Senator Dibble and make sure we have that straightened out.
Senator Dibble?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Howe, yeah, you raise a good point. I don't have a precise answer. I apologize. But we are going to lay this bill over, so it's just going to sit here in committee, and so we'll work with Mr. Greenfield.
Senator Dibble, according to your right-hand person, it's going to go to, where is it going to go? State and local government, so.
Oh, yeah. Lucky Senator Pa is going to state and local, where she can deal with the question. It may come back here at some point, but we'll figure it out. Thanks.
Thank you, Senator Dibble. I wonder if CFR 49 labels this as the program itself. I have some experience with this, having been a socially and economically disadvantaged business. I wonder if it's just aligning it with the language of to businesses owned and operated by a socially and economically disadvantaged individual. I wonder I wonder if that is indeed where it comes from. And in fact, we have a new testifier. So if you could introduce yourself and offer any expertise you have. Thank you.
Madam Chair and committee members, Ashanti Payne with the Metropolitan Council. Your assessment is pretty much right on. The first component where it says, and is consistent with what's in the federal legislation, and that's how it's written, 49 CFR. And the second component where it says or is consistent with state language.
Thank you, Mr. Payne. It's good to see you again. I haven't seen you in a while, so thank you for your input. Senator Howe, do you have any follow-up?
I would just prefer, if that's the way it is, I'd like to see that in the CFR or wherever it came from, just to verify that. I mean, to me, I think the or fits better on 323 than the and, but we'll take that however it looks, as long as it's consistent. Thank you.
All right. Senator Jasinski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I just follow up on Senator Howe's concern. I mean, I think you're reducing your pool of bidders if you're doing the and not the or. So that would typically, I would think, would increase your costs if you're reducing the pool of bidders that you're doing that. I mean, I'm more of a fan of an open bid process and not this process, to be honest. But I think, again, as Senator Howe said, you're reducing the number of bidders and making it more expensive to get these projects.
Thank you, Senator Jasinski. And again, I think this is a definition made by the federal government that you have to be socially and economically disadvantaged. So I totally agree with you. I think that the Met Council might be limited by the federal language, but of course we'll get some documentation from Met Council on that. So thank you. Any other senators have feedback or questions? Thank you, Mr. Payne, for your help on that. Senator Dibble or Senator Pa, do you have any follow-up remarks or any summary? I think Senator Pa might not be available. Senator Dibble.
So thank you, Madam Chair, and I appreciate the time and the attention and the consideration of this proposal. I appreciate it being brought forward by the Met Council. I will now make a motion if that's in order. So I will move that Senate File 2038 be recommended to pass and be referred to the Committee on State and Local Government.
All right, to Senator Dibble's motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair, members.
Thank you, Senator Dibble, and thank you, testifiers. All right, our next bill is Senator Howe's.
We'll do that for you. Thanks. Good to see you. You too.
Senator Howe, welcome. Senate File 2161.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Senate File 2161 is a constituent issue that was brought to me. She was dealing with cancer, brain cancer, and she was required to have a medical beanie with a wrap, and she had to get her driver's license renewed, and they made her take the medical wrap off. So this is in response to that, and what this would allow them to do, if it's a permanent condition, they need to get a physician's card, and I think that's good. I think that's fair, I guess. But what it would do is just prohibit the requirement to remove that wrap and allow them to take that. And if they need to get once the wrap comes off, then they need a new picture when they get their new ID. So pretty straightforward, pretty common sense. Shouldn't have to do it, but we do. So, and I appreciate all the co-sponsors on the bill. I appreciate the support.
Yeah. Thank you, Senator Howe. Would anyone else like to testify on Senate File 2161? All right, seeing none. Committee questions. Senator Jasinski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator Howe. Again, I think this is a pretty humane bill, pretty straightforward, and I think it's a great, we should pass it, so thank you.
Senator Nelson.
Thank you. I was just also going to express support for this, and I'm glad you brought it forward. Thank you.
All right, Senator Howe, a question did come up. I don't know if your staff brought it to your attention. That was the temporary versus permanent. I think if I understand the issue that was raised, the question was, I think thinking was that this bill only deals with the circumstance of the medical covering on a temporary basis, but the idea was, if in fact it is a medical covering that needs to remain permanent, not requiring a renewed physician statement in those instances, just letting the first physician statement that attests to the fact that this is a permanent circumstance, just letting that remain in place without forcing the person to go back and get a renewed doctor's statement. Am I describing that issue correctly, Mr. Greenfield?
Mr. Chair and Senator Howe, that's correct. This was something that we indicated or brought forward with the loss of consciousness bill, Senate File 483, that we heard in February in this committee, where there was also a similar distinction between temporary conditions and permanent conditions that, or perhaps it was the window glazing exemption, same kind of concept where there was a distinction made based on whether the person could present something from a physician that would allow them to no longer have to continually go back to the physician for purposes of that exemption being sought from DVS. So I think that is true that the current language in 2161 does not have that specific provision. It just speaks to on lines 2.1 and 2.2 of the bill, if the condition is temporary, what the person is then required to do after the medical condition resolves itself and they are no longer wearing the thing that, the item that covers their head or scalp. So I think for purposes of this, an amendment would be appropriate to add that specific language similar to other bills and circumstances that we've discussed in this committee for other bills related to this, related to a broad subject area.
So, Senator Howe, would you be amenable to an amendment for those whose condition is permanent, not requiring them to go back and get a renewed medical note from the doctor? And I don't know, are we able to do that on the fly, or should we just hold this here and work on an amendment and do it at another point in time?
Mr. Chair, I think I would want to refine the language, so I would prefer holding the language over and coming back either at another time with the amendment to pass the bill out or lay it over for possible inclusion in a potential omnibus bill.
Yep. But first, I should get Senator Howe's reaction to the idea.
Well, Mr. Chair, I as I read it, it indicated to me that indicate whether if they got the doctor's note, whether the applicant's condition is temporary or permanent, and if the vision, and then it just says if it's temporary, then you need to do something. If it's permanent, to me, you don't need to do anything because it's a permanent condition. So that's how I took it. I didn't think we needed any further clarification, but if we need to do some comfort language, I'm fine with that. Because to me, it states that if it's permanent, you're kind of done. If it's temporary, then you have to do, it requires you to do something. So that's how I interpreted the language. But as you know, and I know that people interpret things all kinds of ways,
right.
And yes.
Right. But given that we now have kind of precedent in form with the other two circumstances, maybe we should make this language similar to that, and then the agency can be super clear. Of course, we haven't gotten the agency's reaction to this whole idea in the first place. They don't look like they're leaping forward to give us a response. We'll engage them in a conversation somewhere along the way. So if you don't mind, Senator, I mean, there's obviously a great deal of support for this and appreciate your bringing this idea forward. So why don't we lay it on the table and fix it up at a future point in time, either send it out on its own or wrap it into a larger bill. All right, anything further, members? Any questions, comments? All right, final word, Senator Howe.
I appreciate it. I think, you know, to me, it's a common sense bill, and the more we can do to make it streamlined for folks out there, the better we can make it.
All right, very good. All right, members, I think that wraps our agenda for the day. We were very efficient today. Appreciate that. More to come on, huh? Oh, yeah. With that, Senate file number 2161 is laid on the table. And with that, we are adjourned.